I'm outside Goma, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, to meet Feza Claire, a single mom who makes her living from weed.
Okay. So you put it in there, and you just roll it up tight. Do you smoke marijuana?
Apa, mimi niko muombaji, ninaombaka sivutake na churuza kame. Nina vitia umu juu basinione basiyue viena. Nina jiparfeme juu harufu sinitoke yako. Haitikiwa tunaendaka bo kila mtu aisha kombo anaichuruza juu hakuna ingine kazi yenye tuko nayo. Maana hayo ndio vinatuweka.
Weed has been used traditionally by humans around the world for hundreds of years. It wasn't until 1961 that the United Nations, under pressure from the United States, drafted international drug policy that deemed marijuana an illicit narcotic, forcing many countries to outlaw it. Once illegal, pot became more valuable. This led large criminal organizations to seize the weed business from the common people and treat it as a cash crop. But in the Democratic Republic of Congo, a vast nation in the middle of Africa, far less attention is paid to this herb. Big-time criminals and militias are concerned with mining and exporting rare minerals like gold and coltan, leaving weed, which grows abundantly around the country, to the people. But since pot is illegal in Congo, it's worth more than regular vegetables like beans and potatoes. This means that marijuana has become a cash crop for the common man. I wanted to see firsthand how these people use weed to better their lives. So I've come to Congo. So I'm in the mountains of eastern Congo, and I'm gonna meet a group of pygmies. They're some of the poorest people in one of the poorest countries on Earth. Pygmies have historically been a nomadic people, living in the woods and moving camp every few months. They hunted, gathered, and planted fast-growing crops for survival. But Congo's ongoing war and the realities of modern society have forced them to start living a settled, non-nomadic life. As the pygmies try to adapt and find new ways of survival, the weed that they've smoked for centuries, known here as bangi, might be the key. Perched on the side of a mountain in North Kivu province is the Mbuti pygmy village. To learn more about their way of life, I'm hanging out with Aaron Mahandule, the village's chief hunter. So if you're able to...
Hivi kazi yangu ni kupata kwenye ilivyo primera zabita anavuta hii ndio ya kazi.
Does the bangi help you to hunt, to trap things?
Bangi ni kitu ya kunipatia force ya kusema nitumike kazi yangu mzuri, niwinde na nyama mzuri, isinitoroke. Isinikimbie. Yafani hii kimbie kona na mimi kuwinda vyote. Kitu cha muhimu cha karibu ni bangi na ile nyama. Sasa mimi nataka tega hii mtego.
What is this that you're making?
Ile ndio mtego inakamata nyama kati ninatega pale. Unafanya hivi. Hii ndio wakati hivi sasa hivi nyama inapita. Okay. Sasa niko naomba hapa juu meru inakuwa mingi.
Something to eat. This is how you get something to eat.
Oui.
Okay.
Uko nani una rafiki?
We're friends. Rafiki.
Yeah.
I like how you use the back of your machete as a hammer. Oh boy, making a sharp stick here. These are millennia-old ways of staying alive, and that's what they're doing here. Oh, I see. So he's making kind of a false ground where you'll cover it with leaves, right? Oh, here we go. And this is the noose. Where did you learn how to do this?
Mie hivi kujifundisha ni tate na tateku na papa ananitosha mtofu.
I see.
Ndo vile mie aliniachia hii kazi.
Sure. Man, now the leaves. This is an ingenious, if like, rudimentary trap.
Hivi hapa niko nimemaliza kama niko na mbili ya hivi mimi naenda ingine nafasi. Kare kipara nafia kule mimi natia ingine hivi.
The park is over there. Why don't you go to the park to do this more often?
Basi kuparke nafikia kuparke leo kuparke siwezi enda tega hii mtego kule kuparke kati vita ilikuyaka ili ataka hatutakula tena kunyama ya hii mtego yetu.
Virunga National Park, the stunning 3,000 square mile protected area in eastern Congo that's filled with gorillas and a vast array of wildlife, was the Pygmies' home and traditional hunting ground for centuries. But during Congo's decades of war, the park became the woodland hideout and military base for many armed militia groups. Pygmies, who either lived in the park or journeyed inward to hunt, were forced out when the Congolese government closed Virunga to human inhabitants to prevent poaching and deprive the rebel groups of their hideaway. But swaths of the park, as well as other remote areas in Congo, are still under the control of rebels and militias.
Atafanya nini? Hii mpanga yangu nje taniua. Juu itanifanya nini? Ni hivi. Ale, wanatupa kule juu. Kilometra ya kutoka hapa na kufika kule dimbali.
Right. So it's very dangerous. They'll kill you at the park.
Okay.
Kill you.
Kule nikitembea mbaya au fiderere tanikata shingo hivi. Kule watasema wewe uko mtu akutuletea FARDC. Ale, inakuwa kutubomolea. Wakati inatubomolea, sasa wewe hauko droit kutoka huko. Hata huko na hivi. Hivi droit yako ni.
And has that happened to anyone that you know?
Ndiyo. Si mkubwa yangu walimuuiaka humu. Walimuuiaka ndani. Na ndo vile basi.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. That's
na ndo vile hivi kazi ya leo tulishaka fanya hivi. Hamina mafaa leo. Na ndo vile basi tulifanyaga nini?
Zamani kwetu, zamani bapapa. Vile watate wa zamani njo maisha yenye walikuwa kama ile. Wa zamani. Kama za kichanga, tukechimbia, siku walirunguzaka kichanga, hii vita ya mudahunga. Leo kesho tuko kule. Watatufukuza. Tulale hapa kesho tuko kule. Tulishakuwa sawa ndege za anga zenye zinarukaka. Ile njo maisha yenye tunaishi huku.
Do you think that the Pygmies will survive, or is the future of Pygmies very dark?
Lakini leo hatungali tunakamata vile siri ya watoto na watoto wenyewe walishabachia. Habangali wanafuata vile juu ya magumu mbalimbali. Kusema wapate fasi ya kuikala hakuna. Sasa sie wengine bana tunazalaulika kuchira mwanadamu.
The idea that Pygmies are less than human has deep and painful historic roots. In the colonial period of the 19th century, racist theories of evolutionary biology pegged Pygmies as proto-humans, a missing link between man and ape. In 1904, a group of Pygmies were brought to the World's Fair in St. Louis, and one was later exhibited in the Bronx Zoo's Monkey House. Today, many in Congolese society still consider Pygmies as second-class citizens. The term Pygmy is considered by many to be derogatory, but there's no single English word to replace it.
Hawaiwe kama tuko watu nabo, kama wanatoka damu na sisi tunatoka damu, hawaiwe vile hakuna. Wanatuzalaulisha macho tu hivi. Sasa wakishaenda sawa musoko hapa kwa liere, wamekunya kupombe, wanafika munjia, wanawapigia bure. Wanawapiga kweli. Jo yenyewe iko aho. Tu mwenye anapenda kupiga mbuti. Basi mbuti niko na neno hakuna. Village tuko tunateseka na kwenda kutafutisha bumakuni, njo benye chakula tunakulaka. Hatungekuwaka mbu tunaiwa tate walituoneshaka hii akili ya kuilima. Leo humu kama njale na tuwaka. Ndio vile bangi tunapenda kuilima.
Shunned by society and without land to cultivate food, the pygmies are some of the most vulnerable people on the planet. Among this world of hurt, weed is the only thing they can count on. Congo's pygmies have endured hardship and persecution for generations, but they're remarkably resilient. One of the only resources they have to help them survive is weed, a plant they've been cultivating and smoking for centuries, and that grows all around this village.
Hizi vilipitikaka wazazi wetu wa zamani, watate na wapapa wako na kwa alitengeneza. Mwenye anagonjwa diale wanamupa, kama ni mtu mwenye anagonjwa kikohozi wanamutengenezea, anakunywa, anasikia kadogo mumwili. Kuma kudawa ya kutunza mavugo yote natusaidia, tunachanga na hiki kuku chenye wanapatia ng'ombe.
Kumepita masiku ninatunza kaba mengi. Tate yangu wa kuzala mama wa baba yangu ndio mwenye alinionyesha ile dawa. Hii dawa inaponeshaka nani ya mtu wa kunyamba ndio hii dawa ninaipigaka. Nikisha maliza ipiga ninakamata ile mai ninaimwanga mkopo na iko na hii dawa.
Making weed tea to treat diarrhea might sound a bit far-fetched, but a recent study of the Aka pygmies in the Congo basin found that those who smoked pot were significantly less likely to be heavily infected with parasitic worms. With diarrhea being a leading cause of death in Congo, maybe the pygmy ancestors were onto something.
Nani dawa ya kudispai ya nani ya vinini vya kudispai havituwezaka si mbuti kama hatukunywa dawa ya po.
You got these leaves just from what was growing around the hut, right?
Kuchoma moya mwingine ni ya mubaya, kuko saa mtu anaipigaka kama haiko wenduli jipandiaka, unakunywa ile dawa na haita kamata mtumbu bia. Magonjwa inaendelea. Meni kama yenyewe inajipandia, pale ndio inakamata sasa.
Unable to tap the resources of the forest, the pygmies have now turned to their ancestral source of medicine as a new source of income.
So what do you guys end up doing with this weed, and like how do you package it, and how long does it take to dry?
Ni kukata sasa. Sasa imekomala ni kukata sasa ginzu tumeikata. Tunaifunga mkauchu. Sasa tumemaliza ifunga mkauchu, tunaitia yulu kwenye moshi kwenye naenda kukahala yulu. Sasa imemaliza pale dejuru tunaitosha. Sasa tumeitosha tunaianika sasa kujua. Hapa sasa tumemaliza ianika hivi imekuwa hii inakuwa sasa hivi.
Who buys it from you and where do you sell it?
Sisi tunauzishaka hii kusema mtu wa pembeni atoke kule akuyauzie hapa.
Do you face any problems when you try to take the weed into market and sell to people?
Sisi kujisha yetu ni hapa tu. Sawa mamaza lalia lakini kusema ngesie tuikamate ngetuifunge twende nayo voyage twende tuujishe voyage fasi nyingine bana tukamatia munjia kabisa banaenda na kutufunga hata sana ninafika ku prison nisha mafimbo sana ni za mingi kabisa. Ndio sie tunapendaka sasa tusipendake sie twende tuujishie pembeni sasa. Haizi uenda ujishia fasi nyingine kabisa. Pale tena na kumuua ni banaenda muua tu. Ndio kabisa. Na hakuna wengine kazi na kazi hakuna na kumbaka tutupa tu kama tumeujisha hii ili yapata hivi hiwili wanatupatia desa mfra na ile desa mfra tunaenda hiuzamo hata kabunga chakula yetu. Sisi tunasemaka ginzi ni ndio chakula yetu hii. Kuanzia asubuhi, kuanzia saa 12 kufikisha saa 12 tena. Niko nalivuta tu.
Maisha yetu hii. Ndio maisha yetu hii, tumbaku hii ndio maisha. Kama mtu hapate wa kuliuza basi ni kulala njala. Ndio maana tunapenda lima hii hapa.
As night fell on the village, I saw more people lighting joints than lighting cooking fires. And I thought about how their relationship to weed is different from anyone I've ever met before. I've seen people find hope in the face of life-threatening illness through using weed. But for the Pygmies, their connection to the plant is far more basic. I wanted to know who else in Congo was using weed to cope with their circumstances. On the edge of Lake Kivu lies a city of Goma. Home to 1 million people, many of whom live in abject poverty with no electricity or running water. This is largely due to Congo's seemingly endless wars, fueled by the country's mineral resources, which have devastated the economy and left many people jobless and traumatized. I've come to meet Kiri, a resourceful single mother of 10, who's found a niche business easing the pain of her community by selling them illegal weed. I met her in the alleyway behind her house.
You're sort of like kind of run the weed show around here.
Parle même en français comme ça.
Sema Kiswahili.
I don't speak Swahili. Mais j'ai parlé un peu de français.
Facilite wa mama kufa kazi. Na wewe unatumika.
Tumika?
C'est ça, travailler.
But what you are doing there is very good.
I'm doing this well? You think I'm doing a good job?
Ndio. Twende anika. Bibi na bwana wanaenda anika kule Bulaya. Mazose nani yako nenda Bulaya? Mzungu ananifulia. Niwaambiaka mzungu atanibebeaka na muitike. Silewi.
Muzunga, what did you say?
Mzungu.
Maybe you show me some of the ganja.
Zinaenda kule.
Les docs.
Ganja.
Oh yeah, that's the ganja. Yeah.
Number 1. Ganja Masisi.
Is this from Masisi?
Masisi from Masisi.
Let me smell it. Yeah.
Number 1.
What about you guys? You guys like smoking this weed? Muzuri.
Mupe moya.
I like to smoke
Moya.
ganja. Let me want to touch.
Naona wanapenda ganja hapo.
But I like ganja.
Basi we.
Ganja is...
Naambia mie mzungu kule Bulaya.
Me and
Naujisha ganja kule.
How long have you been selling weed to people?
Mie niko na miaka 5 naujisha bangi.
And why did you start?
Juu ya mateso mingi, mimi naona watoto wiko walala njala, wanabafukuza masomo. Juu nikapata idea kuuza bubangi, juu nipate bugali.
Did you see other people selling weed? Like, how did you know that that was a good way of making money?
Nilionaka watu babibe basoda wote banapenda ushisha ile bangi, juu wapate kidogo, na ndio maana watu wote wakaingia mwile, na mimi nikaona
Votre mari, il est dans l'armée?
ni soda kama alishakufa kama iko atujuu.
On ne sait pas s'il est vivant ou s'il est mort.
So that, I mean, that's terrifying. You don't know whether he's alive or dead. How long has he been at war for?
Miaka. Maisha iko nguvu juu sie peke ndio tunachunga watoto, babwana habana kazi, bengine walikufa vita kila siku. Sasa kulipa nyumba shida, kukula shida, ndio tunaona tu tuingie mafioze, tuishe bangi tukule.
From what I understand, weed is illegal in Congo. Are you afraid that you'll get punished?
Oui, des fois le
Jala
militaire
tena itika
arrive.
keboga, banatufunga
Des fois
saa
le
yote.
militaire arrive.
Wanakuya wanatukamata, wanatupiga, wanatufunga tunatoka, wanatufunga tunatoka. Bangi ni fraud, abaujishe sabotiki. Ni kila siku kukimbizana kila siku.
And who are the majority of your customers? Who are they?
Si watu wote wanavuta bangi.
Oui.
Ni dawa, wanavuta bangi juu wapate akili, intelligence, upole.
So even soldiers come here?
Bapolisia na basoda ndio wanapenda bangi. Kaa yote inaujisha bangi. Juu maisha ikuwe rahisi. Juu hatuna kwetu tutaiweba. Tutaweba akili wapi? Mawazo iko mingi, unawaza njala. Unawaza kupata makuta. Probleme ziko mingi, bayatima biko mingi. Baveve biko mingi, basilibatere biko mingi.
Oui.
There's a lot of pain, right? This is what you're saying. There's a lot of pain here and a lot of people come to you to smoke weed to sort of ease that pain or lessen it somehow.
Mimi niko dokta wapo, wanavuta, wanapumzisha kichwa. tunaona ni biesi wakishavuta banakula banalala banasikia bien abatawaza sana. Banakisha ikala banakuwa na nguvu banaenda tafuta makuta.
What other options are there for you, and what other options are there for women in Congo?
Hakuna kazi ingine. Hakuna kazi, hakuna kazi kumasomo. Batoto wanamaliza masomo wanakuwa bambaraga. Hakuna kazi. Inatuma kazi zote zinakufa.
Au lieu de faire la pute, c'est mieux de venir ici et vendre avec la masse du joint. Ouais.
Have either of you had experience being a prostitute? Is that something you had to do beforehand?
No husband. What can I do? Yeah. I do that sometimes.
Bumbaraga haiko kazi, hautatia kazi. Omo noa pale ya bumbaraga. Baraga haiko kazi. Omo ikibangi pale ya bumbaraga. Mimi ndio mimi nawasaidia sasa wafia habana. Juu ya ibangi wanakula.
Having found the weed trade to be a way to get by, Kiri now wants to help other women. I caught up with her again at a market in Goma, where she was buying clothes for her children and showing another woman, Feza Claire, the rewards of slinging dope.
Alinifundisha juu nione kama ninaweza pata za kulipia watoto kwa masomo na za kunisaidia kurasio na kusudi nisiende muwerewele, nisiende mubushindikana. Juu nikishapata zile makuta siwezi enda tena mubumbaraga. Zile makuta zinanisaidia kwa kila kitu.
Can you tell me why you enjoy telling other women how they can make a living and being sort of better at business with bangi?
Mie nisha komala hivi nisha wafundisha ni bamingi. Mampasha kanta makala msoko banakulisha na watoto hapo. Baone kwa mama alipitaka mama ni kutafuta kazi, batoto wake nao wanafuata mkulu wa mamabu. Bala kwa maisha nao bayukulo wangu. Wanaume hamuna kitu. Ndio maana tunafurahiaka ba jeune fille ifo bakwe wa commerce tu. Ile kazi yetu njoo tunatumika, tunafanya nguvu na watoto wanakomala.
Kiri's getting by dealing pot, but it feels like she's doing more. She's empowering women to be self-sufficient by selling weed instead of selling their bodies. And for her community, she's creating a safe space and a back alley congregation for those hoping to take a break from their distressing lives. After decades of civil war in Congo, the key player in maintaining peace is the Armed Forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo, known by the French acronym FARDC. While being a soldier in the army is one of the few stable jobs men can hold down, that income doesn't stop some of the 150,000 members of the army from wanting more. I've come to meet Muteba Yav and his wife Elise to discuss their side business, selling pot.
What's your position within the military?
Sous-lieutenant Muteba Yav. Ok, à Lumbashi. Je suis à Nzambe. Merci. Je termine.
In what branch of the military?
La police. Police militaire.
So I understand that many soldiers smoke marijuana and they do it a lot. I also understand that a lot of soldiers end up selling weed also. Is that true and why?
Oui, c'est vrai. Basoldi bonosha bangi, mais aiko autorisé pas. Non? Tout on juste jo moyen do ya vivre. Mais bangi ata bakuba bote bana piga kidogo.
And what is your salary from the military?
Bon, mina pagava 20,000 francs. Ayene apa? Ayene.
Why doesn't the military pay you enough? Why is your salary so low?
Bon, habitons ici apa. Inangalia yulu.
Kwa namuona
Echelon njo inajua si apa.
Angalia kule.
How long have you guys been married for?
Ça fait 18 ans.
How long have you been smoking weed and how long have you been selling it?
Bon, plus ou moins 20 ans.
Bongo, iko na ujisha, ça fait 10 ans. Yeye avutaki.
Sivutaki hapana.
Angalia kule.
Mimi ujishaka, sivutaki hapana.
Haiko onjo na ujisha ka bibi yako onjo na ujisha ka wao
donc
vutaki.
mwenye na ujisha ni vyangu mimi. mais sivutaki mimi hapana.
Okay, I get that. And how long have you been selling weed for?
Ça fait 10 ans.
10 ans.
10 ans, 10 years altogether. Is it something that you feel like you have to do? Or is there anything else that you could do to supplement your income? Why is it that you use bangi to try to get more money for your family?
Juu ile ndio mimi niko na profit. Biko naiuza sana ndio maana mimi naipenda. Inanijengea na inanisomesha watoto na tuko bien juu ya bangi.
Is it something you would do otherwise if you didn't have to have the money?
Yeah.
Kama mimi napata mimi naweza acha kujisha bangi, mimi nakuwa naujisha uchuruzi wengine. Nikapata sasa hivi $300 ane, mimi naweza acha bangi, mimi nakuwa naujisha vingine. Mimi naweza ingia msoko, mimi natafuta kazi nyingine, mimi natumika. Na kusaidia watoto kuwalipia masomo.
Masomo kwanza. Batoto wangu mimi basome kufaye keno, ujue keno batoto yule soda banasoma kuvre moi hivi, hein? Après kusoma. Diplôme d'état, université, akwata ingénieur. Donc si moi je fais tout parce que non ou mtoto wa ule muteba alisoma keno ni ingénieur.
I mean, you hope for your children. Your children, as you're saying, is kind of your future. Your children defines how your life went. And I understand that. I mean, that's something I think is very key to people's lives. And so naturally, you would do something that would help out your family. You sell weed. Where does that weed come from?
Bato wale kupori, banatuletea si hapa Goma, après si Goma si tunarangura, après kurangura, ndio tunafunga ile mabuli, ndio tunaushisha.
Banani banalitaka barangura.
Present?
Banani.
Ni sietu.
Basoda.
Ndio.
So it all comes from the bush outside of Goma. How far exactly?
Kichanga, Masisi.
Those are the two places, Kichanga and Masisi.
Masisi is one of the many territories in the massive Democratic Republic of Congo that is not under government control and is instead run by rebel groups. While the FARDC, Congo's army, is officially at war with these rebel groups, soldiers like Muteba regularly venture into rebel territory to re-up on weed for their side business. Due to the army's inability to secure the country on their own, the UN has deployed the largest peacekeeping mission on Earth. I've come to speak with Goma's UN Bureau Chief, Daniel Ruiz, to learn more about the present state of the conflict.
How many armed groups are there operating in Eastern Congo?
Yeah, there's around 46 armed groups operating in Eastern Congo.
And which would you say is the most threatening to the stability of Eastern Congo and Congo at large?
Well, definitely it is the FDLR. The whole war was built around the FDLR. We can say that it is the cornerstone of the conflict in the DRC.
The FDLR is a militia group started by the killers who committed the Rwandan genocide. In 1994, they slaughtered close to 1 million of the minority Tutsi population in just over 100 days, using farm tools like machetes. When the Tutsis eventually stopped the onslaught, the perpetrators fled into neighboring countries, including the Democratic Republic of Congo. It was here that they formed the FDLR, with the aim of returning to Rwanda to overthrow the Tutsi government. They have since spent 2 decades camped out in Eastern Congo, raping, killing, and terrorizing the local population.
The cost of war is very high. They have to find resources. The Congo has a lot of resources. You have all kinds of minerals, from copper, cobalt. You have rare earth in this area. And these are the real root causes, the real reason why the war has not ended. Most of this group have shifted to predators that are trying to enrich themselves through the illegal trade of natural resources. And the armed groups, on top of that, are killing, maiming, raping, burning people.
Masisi, the area where Goma's weed comes from, also has mines for minerals like gold and coltan. It's been aggressively controlled and protected by the FDLR since they arrived in Congo 20 years ago. I wanted to know what life was like for the farmers growing weed in rebel-controlled territory. I'm following Congo's weed trail to the Masisi region, 13 hours north of Goma, where the weed that many people are selling is grown. But Masisi is also home to the rebels who are tearing the country apart.
Up until now, I've been driving on a road controlled by the Congolese military. But now I'm going to take a left to go in an area controlled by the FDLR.
Upon arrival, the village elders requested to meet me. Since the region is in FDLR hands, these leaders must have ties to the group. So I wanted to see what I could learn from them about the rebels and about the weed trade in Masisi.
Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me and having me in your village.
Asante sana. Hivi tuko hapa, tuko pamoja, mmetutembelea. Mimi ndio chef de localité hapa. Tutawaruza kama ni mambo gani na waleta.
And we're here filming a documentary about the way that marijuana plays a role in Congo. When did the FDLR first come to this village, and what was it like then?
1994. In 1994. That's after the genocide.
Right. So it's been more than 20 years now since FDLR and this village have been together.
Ndio kabisa. Hatuna problema na FDLR.
Pas de problème. What role does the Congolese government play in this village? Do they have a presence? Do they send the army here?
Bakuwa hapa Nyange, hapa ngambo Pati. Jo banafika hapa bako hapa ngambo, banafika.
What do they come here to do when they visit?
Banakuwa bako mu patrouille, bako natembea, bako naona kama mwingine yabo iko hai. Tena banarudia ku defense. Basi banaingia mu operation, me batarudi.
I mean, what I guess surprises me is that, from my understanding, the Congolese army and the FDLR are fighting entities. So what I'm hearing from you guys is that here in this town, in this village, in this area, the FDLR just lives. Do they not want to fight? Who should respond?
This man.
Please, monsieur.
Bo. Ngende bwifudere ngewe. Kijya kukubeshya. Ariko noneho hano hari ushinzwe akarere ka hano. Ntabwo ni ngewe. Urabona ngo nagiye kurengera ibitandeba, kuvuga ibitandeba. Ni make nayo ngayo.
What rank within the FDLR are you?
Sergeant.
Sergeant. Sergeant in the FDLR. And how long have you been a member of the group?
30
years.
30 years. And have you lived in Congo for this entire 30 years, or beforehand you come from Rwanda? Our story is about the way that marijuana plays a role in Congolese society. Who buys it, who sells it, and who smokes it. And one thing that we find particularly intriguing is that many times it is the FARDC or their wives who are buying weed from places that are controlled by the FDLR.
I don't know anything about this.
Okay, nothing at all. As in, you don't know that there is weed that's grown in this region, or you don't know if members of the FARDC are buying weed from this region?
Bo, kuko ngiye kuva navuka gisenda muri umujyi kuva navuka mu buzima bwanjye. Najya kumuyobora umujyi gute? Mbona batambuka bagenda bafadise bagenda bikuriye uzuruba imbaye bagenda. Ariko nabana ubwo ngo navuga no wenda biva hanga cyangwa bituruka. Ntabyo nzi.
Souvent on dit que les banques, on dirait que le capital c'est ici. Mais c'est pire mensonge. En plus, l'FDLR ne pratique pas ça. Négatif.
Sure, it might not be the FDLR that's growing the weed necessarily, but by keeping the roads in passable condition and by offering protection to this region, they support the people who are making money and making a living growing weed, which is something very important to people.
Anakuwa shida. Walikuwa wanatufunga ile banki. Pardon. Ile banki kama mnafika ni karibu.
Namwambia utakasiria.
Nasikia mzee. Ni karibu.
Unasikia kwanza. Vraiment ni faida mengi kwa kuna mfika hapa na mnaingia hapa kwetu. Mais en tout cas nimeshangala mimi
Nimeshangara tena nimeshangara. Mimi kiongozi wa nafasi, munalala hapa kwangu, munaniambia se munakuwa mkazi ya Rumogi. Nilishituka nasikia se munaenda bomora kisima. Ni kweli si kweli?
I don't understand. I'm sorry that you're disappointed. I hope to only show my gratitude for you having us in this village. So my apologies.
Ase kwa kweli mimi nashangala sana na hii histoire. Kwa juu ni vitu havina maana. Ase tena mbele kama unadhani nilikudanganya. Ase mimi nakuomba huruma. Kwa juu ni vitu mwa ni vya bongo tukukua juu ya vile tukukia juu ya bangi.
Merci beaucoup. Nilikujua tena pile. Kama ni mabongo kwenye mlirudiria kwenye kule ile jiwe liko. Turudie pamoja nione kama ni kweli gasi kweli.
I don't know. Should I explain myself further, or do we just leave it at that?
Let me explain to you. Mzee, nilikuambia tena mbele, ile rijio si ya vituangalia hata moja.
Nubwo ari byo demission.
Turabizi.
Ine mwagezo ntarumogi mwabonye.
Nta mafoto bafashe. Kuko ntabwo twebwe nta kintu byatubwiye. Urumva mzee, ntabwo twaje kubwira ngo dushakishe ibi n'ibi bigomba kubatangaza kubona abazungu baje kubera urumogi hano. Ariko basi
It made sense that the village chief assumed I wanted to find mines for gold or precious stones. It's estimated that Congo contains untapped precious minerals worth $24 trillion, which is greater than America's GDP. And militias like the FDLR survive off its illegal exportation. Weed, on the other hand, seemed like an afterthought to these guys.
Thank you very much for having us in your village, and we look forward to spending the night and seeing tomorrow morning again.
I'm hiking to a weed field about 3 hours outside of Kivuye, a village that's controlled by the FDLR. After a tense night, the elders and I were able to clear up our misunderstanding, and they granted me permission to find weed growing in the region. While the FDLR claims to have no interest in weed itself, they do hold great sway over the Masisi region. I wanted to know what life was like for the pot farmers here who grow under rebel control.
Aha! So here it is. This is your weed. And how many plants are there here?
Amakarabiri, karimbiri.
Oh, look how tall they are. This one's like twice as tall as this. Look. Mizuri, right? That's a good one. Well, now we're just surrounded by it. It's like, it's all around us. The plants are twice the size of our height. It's good, guys. Like, you did a good job. This is nice weed. This is the part, yeah. This is like the head bud.
Na wanafika tena mbele wanaitotora hii. Hawana totora hii.
Totola? What does totola mean?
Kutosha hii mayani.
And I mean, you look at it, you can see little crystals. This is a male plant. Yes, you can see the seeds. It's also very sticky. You get that problem? And so who do you end up selling the weed that you grow here to?
Watu wa Goma tu ndio wanatoka kule wanakoya uza na wengine wanatoka fasi zingine kule mabusumba marugoko. Na nani abasodariko ba faridese bakambara bakaza bambaye igisivili.
Are you afraid that it's still illegal?
Huku yuru tu nani basoda kama biko unakutana munjia banaweza kunyang'anya soda faridese.
Sure. Does the FDLR protect you guys when you try to move your weed into Goma?
Ntabwo barwigiraga. Abaendake mwabire bebe.
Right. Like, how much money do you stand to make every time that you harvest?
ibi nk'uko biri hano nkarinurira ahangaha najya kubona nkaba naraje amaye nk'ijana nanga se 150 ubwo kakangirira akamaro mu rugo rwanjye ngo ngewe uko ndihinga numva hariho abarinywa ngewe sindimwe ndarihinga ku hejuru y'ubukene ubwo rero bwa amafaranga gagatuma tunezerwa mbese tukaba twagira n'imbaraga yo guhingira inde hejuru uko aricyo tuboneraho nk'umunyu y'indesi sabuni harira nk'iri kote ryanjye ntarifuze ubwo babiguze nafurira ikote ryanje niyo mpamvu dukora ibi ngibi kugira ngo turebe ko twabona ho iryo faranga twaba tunaribonye kandi umwana yambaye nk'ubusa nkamugurira agashati.
These farmers are talking about living with dignity, being able to have a clean jacket and to provide for their kids' needs. And they're doing this by selling to the Congolese army, forging an unexpected tie across battle lines. It's so interesting to see how marijuana, this thing that you can just consider like this stupid drug that you do to get high, but here in Congo, it's so much more. This has been an eye-opening journey for me. While I've been focused on weed in the US and the shift in culture as it legalizes, what I found here in Congo is that weed offers a glimpse into the lives of people whose stories get drowned out by the clamor of war. In this war-torn country where people are cut out of the immense wealth generated by resources like gold, weed is sort of a democratic natural resource, growing through the cracks of a broken society. Weed won't cure Congo's travesties, but it's a surprisingly effective bandage, holding people's lives together and taking root deep in the Congolese soil.